Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Welcome back to another episode of the Work From Home Show. I'm Naresh Vissa with Adam Schrader. Adam in the house. What's up?
Oh, just having a good evening with the kids and the family. I was telling you before, watch some Ultimate Tag, ready to go out and run around, but not that much.
I actually just came back from a run around the block, and thanks to all the great doctors we've interviewed on our show, I just feel better about going outside, getting some sunlight, moving the body. It feels good. It stays healthy. The next time we got some kind of pandemic, I feel like I'll be more prepared. I don't anticipate that happening again in our lifetimes, but you never know.
I think there'll be one more.
You think there'll be one? Well, if that happens, if there is one more, I think I will be in that vulnerable age of 65 probably. Plus. So might as well start the good habits early. But Adam, this episode, let's go over some topics that we've had some feedback on, including listener questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
And the first question, actually, before we get to the first question, if you have a question, hello@workfromhomeshow.com, or hit us up on our social media. We're everywhere. Facebook, Twitter. We're not on LinkedIn, but you can get on our mailing list on our website. You can contact us through the website. If you get on our mailing list, you'll get our emails and you can respond to them. We make an attempt to answer every question on air. So Garrett wrote into us. He said, quote, "I really enjoyed the Nomad Capitalist episode with Andrew. It was an interesting global perspective on working from home and working from anywhere. I think this has been your best episode yet. However, I'm surprised Andrew didn't mention Costa Rica and Panama. Both are great for expats." End quote. Now, as somebody who has visited South America multiple times and who visited Costa Rica, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago, and I've been to Colombia, Medellin in Colombia, Costa Rica, a few other places in South America. I will say this. Your comment, Garrett, you are correct in that Costa Rica and Panama are good places for expats. However, you have to think about Andrew Henderson, the person we had on the show. So Andrew Henderson, if you listen to that episode, to me, he seemed like a guy who didn't want to go to that popular expat destination. He's somebody who's trying to find the diamond in the rough. So that's why he talked about Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He talked about Tbilisi, Georgia. These are places that I would say are more up and coming. And that's what he's more interested in. He's not interested in the hotspot where all the Americans are, not all, but a ton of millennial Americans are moving to. And those hotspots are Costa Rica, Colombia, Panama, Thailand. Those are super popular for American. In fact, if you go, I visited one of these like American colonies, as they're called, in Colombia and in Costa Rica, both. And it's legitimately like just going out to Clearwater Beach in Florida. That's what it's like, because it's like all American and they're speaking in English. They just happen to be in a different country. And that's what Andrew doesn't want. So for all our listeners, look, those are great places if you want to get your feet wet. But if you're an explorer like Andrew is, like a pioneer, I mean, he's called the Nomad Capitalist for a reason. It's not because he's going to Chiang Mai, Thailand with thousands of other Americans.
Yeah, well, it's also, you have to look at what his objectives were. And if his objectives are to get his business taxes down to virtually nothing and his personal taxes down to virtually nothing, I don't know about the tax structure in Costa Rica and Panama, but I mean, he's got to find those places that allow him to get his rate down as low as he can.
Yeah, Absolutely. And I own property overseas. I own in Nicaragua. I own a teak timber tree plantation.
Really?
Yes.
You've never told me that.
Yeah, I haven't told too many people that because for some reason people start getting really interested about it and they start asking me all these questions. And it's not an investment that I would recommend to my friends, but for some reason people are more interested in that than like real estate or anything else. So I only own one parcel. So it's one of those things where I was like, you know what? The guy, like the investor who, I guess you can say the sales guy who handles all this, he comes from a very kind of deep, trusted inner circle. And that's why I ended up purchasing this parcel, simply because I know the people who he rolls with, and they are, serious business. They don't mess around. They're not looking to rip you off, and they're just excellent sources of information and excellent investors. So it just made me feel a lot better. Okay, let's just go ahead and try it. And the thing with those properties, you don't see the results until 30. It's like taking out a 30-year mortgage and not seeing anything for 30 years, just forgetting about. I mean, sometimes I even forget that I own this. And then 30 years later, it's like, hey, the trees they're ready for harvest and you can sell at a, 800% appreciation. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
It's one of those things. Best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but you got to think that it takes 20 years to get your investment back.
Yeah. You literally, you actually get your investment back by the time I would say you're at year 15 to 20, somewhere in between them. But as the real money is made when you sell the plantation 30 years later.
Yeah.
That's where you make the real money. But anyway, there are all sorts of investment opportunities like that in South America, really in South America. I don't want to say it's an up and coming continent, but there are people like Andrew. Andrew does scope out investment deals, just not in South America. There are many people. Maybe we might bring one or two of them on our show who can talk about it some more. All right, so Adam, next topic. People have asked, or we had a listener email us saying, congratulations, you've crossed 50 episodes. Awesome. And they said that they tried podcasting themselves and they gave up after the first episode.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. So we are going to have a special month long. I think it's going to last probably 2 months, like a 2-month series on. It's basically training specific skills that you can build up at home. And one of the episodes that we have is podcasting and how you can podcast from home. So we go over everything you need to know about podcasting on that episode. And one of the things that we talk about is podcasting is difficult. There's a lot. I wrote an entire book on it because it's not easy. And yes, most people do give up after one episode or 1 month or 1 year. If you make it after a year, then you've made it as a podcast. A lot of it is hardcore. Kind of a war of attrition.
Yeah.
And so to have, by the time our first season ends, Adam, we're going to be close to, I'm not sure, but we're going to be close to 100 episodes. But when we come out with season 2, we'll definitely reach 100 episodes. And a lot of podcasting is believing in your message and sticking with it, because there's so many podcasts. There are how many podcasts? There are probably close to
I think there's around no, I think it's up in the mid 1 millions. I think it's somewhere
okay. So almost 2 million.
I think it's I'm trying to remember.
So they're almost let's just say there have been 2 million podcasts created since the beginning of podcasting in 2004. Well, Adam, you want to take a wild guess? Approximately how many of those podcasts are still active today?
I think isn't it like 700,000?
No, it's a lot less than that. Active podcasts.
Active?
Yeah. Active.
I don't know.
Yeah, so the number is actually more like 100,000. So that kind of goes to show that, and even just to use our show as an example, the work from home show, when we were getting started on this show, I looked up our competition and we interviewed our really the only competition that's left. We interviewed that individual who's going to be on, his name is Tom Antion. He's going to be on that special skills series talking about two different episodes talking about webinars and other work from home topics. But when I was doing research on work from home, and when we got started in the middle of March 2020, there were maybe 6 or 7 other work from home shows, and only one of them, Tom's show, was the only one that was still active. The other ones stopped publishing by December 2019. And so that's why, Adam, we were named the #1 work from home podcast in the world by that publication. I forgot what the publication was, but we'll talk about, I think we talked about on a previous episode. You can see our show notes about that. But it's largely because the other players in our space, they gave up. They gave up after 3-4 episodes. And if you want to write a book, if you want to come out with a podcast, can't give up. It's not going to work out. You're not going to succeed.
Yeah, but it's really easy to give up. It's very easy.
It's super easy to give up. All you have to do is just stop.
Yeah. I mean, I do this stuff all the time and edit stuff and post stuff for a living. And, man, this 3 days a week thing, I mean, it seems like not a lot, but it catches up whenever you do it week after week. I mean, even if you're doing one a week, you start getting a little bit behind and, whew, man, it can catch up and pass you by real quick.
Yeah, well, what I tell people in anything, podcasting, writing a book, starting a business, the beginning is going to be the hardest. So even for our podcast, we were recording like every day for the first month. So yeah, it was a lot. But now we've really, really slowed down to where next month, we're probably only going to be recording like once a week at max. And maybe the month after that, it could be once a month. So it's starting to kind of scale back. But the first month, first 2 months were heavy. We got to generate content. We gotta find guests. We gotta fill airtime. We gotta have, put everything that we possibly can that's relevant to work from home. And again, that's like any business, any book. It's the beginning is the toughest part. You're going to be putting in a lot of sweat equity, a lot of time, and then hopefully you'll see the results months down the road, years down the road. In the case of some of my businesses or ventures.
Yeah, I mean, the good part is once you get them up there, as long as you pay a couple bucks a month, they're not going anywhere. Exactly. That's a beautiful thing. And we, to give another example, we have a guest, or we have a guest coming up who is an expert on the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which an organization like a nonprofit came up because of that book, or it's an offshoot of the book, and he's one of the executives from that nonprofit. And if you think about that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, the author, he's no longer living. But the book is still, like if I go on Amazon right now, that book is still like top 10 in its like overall general category. It's still selling thousands of copies every month. And the book came out, I want to say sometime in the 90s. So again, great example of a piece of work. I'm sure Stephen Covey put in a lot of effort into that book. It was published in 1989, one of the greatest self-help books ever written. And 31 years later, one of the executives from the nonprofit that was an offshoot of his book is coming on our show, because that's how much of an impact that book made. So you never know. Never know. Agreed.
All right. So next topic, Adam, is, so we interviewed someone, Adam, her hit's going to be coming up, and she is like one of the leading, policy experts when it comes to IT, information technology. And the reason why I brought her on is because IT has become, it's always been important, but it's become so important during these lockdowns, during the really to the work from home movement. Without IT, there would be no work from home movement. And so I, I used to be one of those guys. If people were like, oh, let's stand up and give our military a big clap, and you just kind of stand up and aimlessly start clapping for the military until I became older and started. I got mugged by an ex-veteran because when he mugged me, he dropped his wallet, and I took his wallet as he ran away, and boom, his VA card was right there. And as I started to learn more about our military, the difference between military and reserves, and some of the other issues, I'm actually one of those guys who stopped just kind of standing up and blindly clapping for the military because I'm not really sure why people do that. I started questioning it. And during this lockdown, during this pandemic, our healthcare professionals became the new military because it's like I was getting, because my wife is in healthcare, I was getting free McDonald's because she was a healthcare employee. I was getting free Krispy Kreme because she was a healthcare employee. We're just getting free shit left and right because she was a healthcare employee. And, she'll be the first one to admit she didn't do jack shit during the month of April because they didn't have any patients. The Wuhan virus was not what they expected it to be in Florida. So, she didn't really have to do anything. And so, look, I'll take my free Krispy Kreme. But I started just kind of thinking about, who are the real heroes during this not just a pandemic, but during this entire shutdown. And I think it's the IT workers who are the real heroes because they are the ones who saved whatever remnants were left of the global economy. Without the IT people, there is no work from home. There is no concept of work from home, and nobody has ever, I think you might have done a little bit of IT in the past, but nobody ever gives the IT guy any credit whatsoever.
Yeah, they only get the bad.
They only get the bad. You only need them when there's a problem, right? It's almost like, hey, I need my work from my home office set up, so you get the company to send the IT guy, and you treat him kind of like any other vendor who comes to your house to fix a toilet or whatever. But the IT people, in my opinion, they, like I said, they saved the U.S. economy. They saved whatever remnants were left of the global economy, and we need to applaud that. And that's why we interviewed one of the leading IT experts in the world on our show, and I just want to thank the IT folks for everything that they've done. Because just imagine, Adam, without the IT folks, not just during 2020, but just if that entire profession was gone, imagine how difficult life would be for any business, even a restaurant.
Yep. Everything would be going great until the first thing broke.
Yeah. So I don't know how. Reach out to us. hello@workfromhomeshow.com. hello@workfromhomeshow.com. I don't know how to thank them outside of dedicating 5 minutes on this episode to say, hey, thanks a lot. If you have any ideas, reach out to us. If you're an IT professional and you have your own story that you want to share about how you took your business or your skills in IT to the next level during this pandemic, reach out to us. hello@workfromhomeshow.com. We might even interview you on the show. Might even do that. So
I know whenever I was working in an office, all you had to do to impress an IT person was actually talk to them.
Yeah. Nobody talks to them. They just assume, oh, he's IT guy. He just types on his computer.
He's just a weirdo.
Yeah. Exactly. So, thank you, IT people. Really appreciate it. And I'll try my best to continue to speak highly of you and preach your good work. Last topic, Adam. I don't know if you heard about this. I sent this article to you. So there's a new idea, and I don't think this idea is going to last, but It's a concept of renting your house out by the hour so that people can basically come in and do whatever they want in your house. I don't want to say do whatever they want. They can come there to work, they can come there to meditate, they can come there to, what this article said, to escape their loved ones. And so I just thought, it's kind of relevant to work from home. And I was reading the article, and it kind of spurred out of, we've talked about relationships on this show, working from home and keeping a healthy relationship, healthy marriage at home. Well, a lot of people right now, that's not happening. They're having financial problems. They've gotten on each other's nerves. It's been a major issue. And so this company came out that allows you, it's an app called Globe, and it offers daytime short-term rentals by the hour so that people will pay for a quiet space to make calls, meditate, do
people
work.
Need their safe space again.
Safe space, or just be alone. And look, to me, this defeats the entire work from home concept. Like, you work from home so you can get away from the corporate office, right? And now you want to, it's so that's the derivative of the corporate office is working from home. And now there's a second derivative of working from home, which is this app called Globe. So you can get away from home, and they charge, this is not cheap. It's anywhere from $40 to $70 an hour to rent out the space. So that's a lot. That's I know some lawyers from Craigslist who I've hired who charge, those rates. So lawyers are charging those rates. This is not a cheap app or a cheap program. I don't think it's going to make it because, look, you're at home. Rather than wasting $100 a day to get away from your boyfriend, maybe you should just move out to your own place. Or if you're married, maybe you just move from the 1-bedroom apartment to the 2-bedroom apartment, so you have that room where you can detox.
Yeah, that $3,000 a month can get you some extra space.
Yeah, and if you need more space in the 2-bedroom apartment, then buy the single family home. The 3-bedroom, 1,200 square foot single family home. But you have options. I just have a hard time seeing an idea, a concept. It's something like this would only come out of Silicon Valley in San Francisco, and get funding and get an article done in the New York Post and then go viral on the New York Times. And it would only happen there. I can't see this lasting longer than 2 or 3 years. I just have a very hard time believing that people are going to pay these rates. Look, if it was like an Uber or like an Uber pool where you're paying $5 for a car ride, okay, that's affordable. It costs the cost of gas. You do the math, and it's it just makes a lot of sense to do the Uber. But in this case, you don't really have anything to compare it to outside of your mental sanity, right? And do you want to go to some stranger's house to get away, or do you want to call your friend and say, hey, can I crash in your extra room tonight?
I mean, it's something that can only happen. Yeah, as soon as the pandemic ends and people are going out more, just say, hey, I'm going to go out to the bar. Give me $100 to spend on alcohol. They'll be gone for the whole night. You get plenty of free time.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So for those who want to find out more about it, the app, just type in Globe app. It's on the App Store. You can Google it also just to read more about it. But anyway, as I mentioned earlier, workfromhomeshow.com. If you have any questions, hello@workfromhomeshow.com. Get on our mailing list. We got all sorts of free stuff. Like us on Facebook, like us on Twitter. We're everywhere. Thank you to all our 18 listeners. You've been with us through thick and thin. And until next time, keep on working from home.